when a loving father suffers a horrific attack.
He had been stabbed once. The knife punctured his lungs, his aorta, and his pulmonary arteries.
Paramedics arrived on the scene and immediately rushed him to the hospital.
But how did this happen?
He said he had gotten in a fight down the street, but the neighbors had not heard or seen anything.
There was no sign of forced entry, and it was very apparent that this was not a robbery.
And the autopsy reveals peculiar details.
Opposite of the stab wound was what appeared to be a fresh bite mark.
Curiously, there seems to be a healed bite mark as well.
Now the detectives have to really do a deep dive as to what's happening here.
And as they do, they uncover well-hidden secrets.
What they found was shocking. There were 2 prior domestic violence incidents.
She had been with women in the past.
And a tangled web of lies.
Detectives are really not believing what she's saying.
He was tampering with evidence.
It does not fit the narrative of some random altercation.
May 18th, 2014. It's just 1 week before Memorial Day in Columbus, Georgia, and residents in the state's second-largest city are enjoying a warm Sunday evening.
Columbus, Georgia is a city of about 200,000 on the border of Georgia on the Chattahoochee River.
It's a smaller version of Atlanta, and also a city where the people are known for working really hard.
But for one neighborhood, this pleasant Sunday comes to a grinding halt.
911 emergency.
There's a guy that needs help out here.
At approximately 10:30 p.m., 911 received a call from a gentleman stating that he had seen a man laying in the street and it appeared as though he was injured.
He said it seems that the man was stabbed and there's a knife laying next to him.
Once on the scene, officers are baffled by what they find, or rather, what they don't.
They looked for a body in the street and they did not find one.
They can't find any evidence of a crime.
With no sign of anything suspicious, officers are about to give up the search.
But then they saw a female run out of the house.
Help us, please!
She's begging for help, saying that her boyfriend, Anthony Murray, had just been stabbed.
As a single father, 30-year-old Anthony Murray was searching for a new beginning.
He had recently broken up with his girlfriend and the mother of his children.
But he had children that he wanted to be responsible for. He wanted to be a good father.
His kids were his world, but most of the time, they lived with their mom and he would get lonely. He wanted somebody to share his life with.
So eventually, Anthony dove back into the dating scene.
That's cool. You got kids?
And there, he found Priscilla.
In early 2013, Anthony met Priscilla Morgan and they began a relationship.
Anthony and Priscilla had this instant chemistry.
Like Anthony, Priscilla was also a single parent.
My oldest, he just moved out, but I still have 3 girls at home.
She was committed to working really hard to just provide a good living for her and her children.
Everything I do for them.
Anthony soon found himself head over heels for Priscilla.
And as for Priscilla, she saw Anthony as the father figure her daughters needed.
Priscilla was looking to establish that family unit, and she believed that he was the right person to do this with.
He took care of those 3 daughters as if they were his own, and they became quite attached to him.
Anthony was fully committed.
He moved into Priscilla's home with her 3 daughters, and the family grew even closer.
Priscilla and Anthony had really worked on building this blended family together.
But now, a year into building their life together, Priscilla is screaming for help outside the couple's home after a 911 call alerted Columbus police of a man stabbed in the street.
Priscilla grabbed the attention of the police officers and she said, "He is in here."
My boyfriend, Anthony! Come on!
He's over here.
When officers enter the home, they find Anthony on the kitchen floor, unresponsive.
He doesn't appear to be breathing, so the officers started CPR and continued until the paramedics arrived.
While they work to quickly get Anthony to the hospital, officers turn to Priscilla for an explanation.
She states that she and Anthony had taken the kids to a barbecue at the neighbor's house on the next block.
However, according to Priscilla, Anthony left the party early.
Then she received a phone call from him.
He says he'd gotten into it with some guys on the way home.
It was pretty bad.
Priscilla says he sounded like he was in a lot of pain, so she immediately went home.
When she got home, she'd found him inside of the kitchen, and he was holding his chest.
But instead of answering her, he just collapsed on the floor.
At 30 years old, Anthony Murray was embracing a new start, devoting himself to his children, his new girlfriend, Priscilla Morgan, and her 3 girls.
After a year of dating, Priscilla Morgan and Anthony Murray were well on their way of building a life together.
But now, first responders are rushing Anthony to the hospital after finding him unconscious in the couple's home.
Anthony had gotten into a random altercation with gentlemen outside of the home, and he collapsed inside of the kitchen.
The big thing that the patrol officers want to do is to secure the witnesses.
But Priscilla claims she doesn't know very much.
Upon initially questioning Priscilla, she said Anthony didn't tell her any details.
However, one element of her story stands out.
She did not give specific names, but she said Ant was beaten up by some other guys.
It seemed like it was more than one.
Which means they're on the hunt for multiple attackers.
They would have to try to figure out were there any enemies that Ant had, or if anyone had been upset with Ant.
Unfortunately, Priscilla says she has no clue who could have done this.
That leads to the possibility that maybe it was a stranger that stabbed Ant in an effort to rob him.
But as Priscilla explains the events to officers, something catches their eye.
Police noted that the floor was wet, and she said the reason why the floor was wet is because she was concerned that Ant was unconscious.
Priscilla told them that she tried to get him to wake up, but she couldn't, so she grabbed a cup of water and threw it on him, trying to revive him.
All right, tell you what, let's just go back to the station.
With backup on the way, officers ask Priscilla to come down to the station.
The responding officer was asked to take her to the police headquarters so that she could give a recorded statement. And Priscilla Morgan agreed to go.
At that time, Priscilla's mom was called to take custody of their children.
While Priscilla heads to the station, a detective joins the crime scene investigator at the scene.
They started in the kitchen where responding officers found Anthony lying on the floor.
Though looking around, it doesn't appear like much of a crime scene.
There was no visible blood. But the floor was wet from where Priscilla said that she'd thrown water on Anthony.
Also, there were no knives on the floor, but there were 4 other knives in the drawer, and there was 1 knife in the sink.
The sink was full of soapy water, but as far as they can tell, there were no traces of blood anywhere around the sink or on the knives.
Still, because those tools are rarely available, they took those as evidence.
It's standard procedure just to be sure that they covered all their bases.
Moving to the rest of the home, the detective finds no signs of a struggle.
They were looking for overturned furniture, disarray, holes in the walls, any tools or weapons that could be used to assault someone, but they find none of that on the scene.
They also found that there was no sign of forced entry.
To the detective, everything seems to line up with Priscilla's story.
If that's the case, then maybe this fight really did happen in the street.
But outside, the detective finds much of the same.
The investigators don't find any blood, they don't find knives, they don't find anything that would lead them to this altercation actually happened on the street outside the residence.
As they push into the neighborhood, police are met with even more mysteries.
No one seems to have remembered any type of altercation taking place.
And so that's where investigators, I'm sure, become very suspicious of her story.
And unfortunately, none of the neighbors had any type of security cameras.
With no witnesses to the supposed street fight, the detective has only one more place to check: the party Anthony had gone to that night.
Detectives make their way back to the location of the party.
By the time the detective arrives, it's clear the party's winding down.
The party was somewhat over, but there was still a few people hanging around.
However, the first person they want to talk to is the party's host.
She confirmed that Anthony, Priscilla, and their 3 daughters were there that night.
As the party wore on, they ended up putting a movie on for the kids, and the adults were just hanging out.
He said she was in the kitchen making dinner plates for the kids. There was an argument.
Hey, stop!
Seriously, Aunt, grow up!
You saw what she did, and you know what she was trying to do.
What's your problem?
She said Anthony and Priscilla had been arguing over a woman.
What is going on?
According to a poll conducted by National Public Radio, 1/4 of American adults fear being attacked in their own neighborhoods. Of Black respondents, 25% said they feared being harmed, while less than 20% of white respondents shared the same concern. Following the brutal stabbing that left Anthony Murray gravely injured, police have tracked his evening to the home of his neighbor.
Anthony and Priscilla were at her party prior to this incident taking place.
At first, she said the party was going great.
But late into the evening, a heated argument broke out between Anthony and his girlfriend, Priscilla.
She said Anthony and Priscilla had been arguing over another woman.
She tells detectives she's not exactly sure what was going on, but she believes that it has something to do with flirting.
And now the detective has to consider, could he be dealing with a love triangle?
Love triangles are almost always messy, so that definitely can cause some problems and some animosity.
When I came back, but apparently it wasn't Anthony that was flirting, it was Priscilla.
She surprises detectives by saying that she knows that Priscilla had been with women in the past, and she knows this personally.
I don't know if he was jealous or what, but he wasn't happy.
She said that she didn't really know what happened.
Anthony immediately collected the kids and left.
Priscilla, however, stayed behind.
After that, she said she drove over to her friend's house to pick up her kids.
When the party's host returned, she was surprised by who she found on her front doorstep.
Priscilla was gone, but her 3 kids were back.
And I wasn't really expecting for them to be here, and I asked the kids what was wrong.
They were upset, saying that Anthony popped Priscilla in the mouth.
If that's the truth, it sheds a whole new light on this investigation.
Rather than getting jumped, could this possibly be some type of domestic dispute between the couple?
To know for sure, they'll need the full story.
So the detective began questioning and talking to some of the attendees of the party.
And one guest was actually in the dining room where the altercation occurred.
According to her, she says it all started with this other woman.
The witness stated that she came into the dining room dancing in a very seductive manner.
Apparently, it seemed like she was flirting with Priscilla.
And Anthony didn't take this well at all.
Given the couple's background, the detective can see why.
Priscilla had been known to have a relationship with other girls, and that is a big reason why Ant was as upset as he was when she did the provocative dance.
Though apparently, that was just the beginning.
Hey, what are you trying to do? Stop it!
And witnesses stated that Anthony asked her to stop, but she didn't.
Or what, Aunt?
She kept pushing, then Priscilla got up and danced with her.
That's when Anthony snapped.
Anthony jumped out of his seat and grabbed the woman in a headlock.
It shocked everyone, including Priscilla.
Let her go!
He was mild-mannered, so a lot of people were surprised when he showed a little bit of violence at the party.
And then Priscilla began yelling at Anthony.
And grow up!
You saw what she did?
She's just joking!
Priscilla berated Anthony for getting upset, and Anthony eventually relented.
He let her go, and he left with the kids immediately after that.
Now the detective is beginning to second-guess Priscilla's statement.
With Priscilla's original statement saying that Anthony had gotten into it with some random guys in the neighborhood on his way home, it was starting to look a bit unlikely.
It seems Anthony and Priscilla were actually the ones fighting.
Maybe the argument continued at home. He struck her, like the kids said, and she stabbed him in retaliation.
Now, detectives figure it's time to hear Anthony's side of the story.
Hopefully, Anthony's awake and willing to talk.
However, when detectives get to the hospital to see if they can speak directly with Anthony, they get some bad news.
The ER docs pronounced Anthony dead on arrival.
As investigators in Columbus, Georgia try to piece together the events leading up to the stabbing of Anthony Murray, they sadly learn the young man has succumbed to his injuries.
Anthony Murray was pronounced dead soon after arrival to the emergency room.
Back at the station, the detective receives Anthony's autopsy and gets a closer look at what killed the 30-year-old father.
In Anthony's case, it was just one single puncture wound, but that knife hit vital organs.
It was enough to puncture his lung.
There was damage done to his rib as well as his aorta and pulmonary artery.
It may have been one stab wound, but it's clearly a brutal injury.
Thinking back to the scene, detectives remember one stark detail.
On the floor, there was no blood,
what it indicates is that there was a cleanup.
But that's not the only thing the autopsy report reveals.
Opposite of where the stab wound was on the left side of his chest was what appeared to be a fresh bite mark.
Curiously, there also seems to be a healed bite mark on the upper right part of Anthony's chest.
Clearly, the evidence isn't matching up with Priscilla's story.
The fresh bite marks and the old bite marks does not fit the narrative of some random altercation.
Now, what it does sound like is an ongoing domestic violence situation.
But with Anthony gone, police are running out of options.
Now, detectives turn to the only other witnesses that they have, Priscilla's children.
They saw some part of the argument, and they are detectives' last hope at learning the truth.
Police asked the daughters to be transported to the public safety building, and Priscilla's mother agreed to it.
After the girls arrive at the station, the detective interviews each of them separately, starting with the oldest.
Tell me what you remember.
She confirms that she and her sisters had gone to the cookout with Anthony and Priscilla.
To a party. And I was just with the other kids.
She said they spent most of their time hanging out with the other kids watching a movie.
But she says she knew that Aunt was mad with her mother for dancing with another woman.
I heard Anthony and my mom arguing. He got so mad.
Eventually, Anthony said it was time for them to go.
She told them that Anthony took them back home and then went back to the party to go get her mom.
By the time they got back home, Anthony and Priscilla were going at it.
She said the fight started soon as they came in the house.
You went too far.
Well, she should have stopped when I asked.
Detectives asked her if this was a physical fight, and she said, no, my mom was just cussing Anthony out.
But then Anthony and Priscilla went into a bedroom where the argument continued.
That's when things got physical.
Priscilla's daughter said that she actually heard her mom say, "Get your hands off of me."
Then she heard her mom say, "You busted my lip."
Did you see him hit her?
No.
No?
And she says the whole fight was highly unusual.
Her daughter said she's seen them argue, but never seen them get physical.
The daughter says she really likes Anthony. He's always nice. He's never mean to her and her sisters.
She couldn't understand how Anthony would ever hit her mom.
Though moments later, Priscilla emerged from the bedroom.
Priscilla's daughter says she's not clear whether Anthony hit her mom or not.
But Priscilla was very upset.
And when her mom came out of the bedroom, she asked her for her cell phone because her battery on her cell phone was dead.
She says her mom made one call to her uncle.
Priscilla called her brother and said, "Aunt just hit me.
Aunt put his hands on me.
You better come here before I do something."
Meaning pretty much she'll take care of it.
After that, Priscilla told the three girls they needed to leave.
She tells the girls to return back to the party a block over.
I didn't know what was going on. I was afraid, and my sisters, they were upset.
When the detective talks to the younger girls, their stories all align.
Each of the daughters noted how unusual it was for Priscilla to send them anywhere at that time of night.
What this means now is that all of these girls are telling the truth.
Police decide it's time to talk to Priscilla again.
When detectives talk with Priscilla, she's been there several hours waiting to speak with them.
When they sit down, Priscilla makes a shocking move.
Priscilla started changing up her story.
She gives her second version of what happened.
So here's what really happened.
She was at her house with her 3 daughters when Aunt opened up the door and said he had just been stabbed, and that is when he fell to the floor.
Then she sent the kids back to the party because she didn't want them to see everything.
But the detective is losing patience.
They already heard from the partygoers and Priscilla's own daughters about what they saw happen.
Priscilla, I need you to stop lying to me.
Detectives tell her, according to several witnesses, that she claimed that Anthony had assaulted her.
Then you went and called your brother and asked him to come over before you did something bad to Anthony. Is that not what happened?
No.
That's when the detective breaks the news.
Anthony's dead.
When they inform her that Anthony was dead, then she becomes emotional.
She simply states, I had nothing to do with it.
I didn't kill him.
A detective investigating the now murder of 30-year-old Anthony Murray has confronted his girlfriend, Priscilla Morgan, armed with new information.
Detectives learned that earlier that evening, Anthony and Priscilla had been arguing.
And then things escalated back at home.
So they come to the conclusion that a domestic dispute more than likely occurred and led to the stabbing of Anthony Murray.
But when the detective informs Priscilla of Anthony's death,
Anthony's dead.
She only has one thing to say.
I didn't kill him.
If that's true, the detective has just one other suspect in mind.
The 3 daughters heard Priscilla call up her brother and say, Anthony has just hit me.
And hit me.
And she said, you better come over here before I do something.
So did her brother actually hear her cry for help, and he intervened?
Hoping to get Priscilla to confess any involvement, the detective offers her a way out.
They are compassionate with her in regards to the fact that is she possibly a victim of domestic violence?
But Priscilla is unmoved.
Unfortunately for the detectives, Priscilla really wasn't cooperating.
So he changes gears.
He started questioning her about the bite marks on his chest. And she says they were old.
They look old.
But he's really not believing what she's saying because one of the bite marks was really fresh.
So police confronted her with the fact that she was inconsistent with what happened.
Eventually, Priscilla relents.
She admits that they had been arguing, and she sent the kids back to the party so that they would not see them fighting.
Priscilla does say once the kids left, things did kind of escalate in the kitchen.
She said that Aunt picked up a knife.
She said she grabbed the knife in response to Anthony grabbing his knife.
And that is when Aunt charged at her.
What happened next was something she never could have imagined.
Anthony ran into the knife.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Though if that's the case, what happened to the knives?
Priscilla says she's not sure what happened to them.
They showed her the pictures of knives that they found at the scene. Priscilla said none of those were the knives that was used for the stabbing.
No.
But she also says that soon after the stabbing, her cousin came over.
Priscilla told the police that her brother sent him to the house.
And according to Priscilla, he's also the person who called 911.
There's a guy that needs help out here.
She did not want to put anything on him or blame him for this, but she does know that the knives were there.
You probably know where they are.
With one mystery solved, the detective backtracks to the stabbing itself.
When police asked her to demonstrate exactly what happened, she said that Ant lunged at her with a knife.
So they handed her a pen and wanted her to reenact kind of like what took place.
But as they watch Priscilla reenact the stabbing, a strange detail emerges.
The way that Priscilla was saying the knife was held, and when you compare it to where Anthony was stabbed, it just wasn't adding up.
The knife was in her left hand, held slightly above her waist.
And when you look at the height difference, it doesn't quite match up.
In addition, Anthony's injuries were much more severe than what would have resulted from Priscilla's version of events.
You would have to deliberately make a stabbing effort, a strong force to be able to do the damage that Ant received.
It's not the kind of thing that's going to happen from someone lunging at another person.
You sure that's how you was holding?
Yet Priscilla pushes back, insisting that's exactly how things played out.
Positive.
When police point out the inconsistencies, she does not admit to what happened. She sticks with the last thing that she says.
Regardless, Priscilla's confession is enough for police to press charges.
So at the end of the interview, they place her under arrest for murder and using a weapon in the commission of a crime.
With Priscilla in custody, the detective now turns to her cousin.
So, tell me what happened.
He states he and Priscilla's brother were actually together when they received the phone call that Anthony had put his hands on Priscilla.
We were concerned, so we drove over there.
And when they got there, they found Anthony on the kitchen floor. He said they tried to wake him. And that is when Priscilla's brother threw water on him.
But he didn't know exactly what had happened until he raised him up and saw the hole in his chest.
So did you see any knives? Anything?
Yeah.
When he walked into the residence, 2 knives were at the feet of Anthony Murray, and he picked up the knives and placed them by the sink.
With few ways to help the situation, he and Priscilla's brother decided to leave.
That is when Aaron said that he proceeded to make the 911 call.
Still, the detective has no choice but to arrest him for tampering with evidence.
That's when he starts to tell detectives more about the couple's relationship.
They were always fighting, especially her.
He said there was one time in particular where he watched her beat the crap out of him, and he had to pull her off of him.
It's a shocking claim, one the detective needs to dig deeper on.
Based on what they learned, they decide to pull a criminal background on Priscilla.
They discovered that this was not the first time she was involved in what is domestic violence.
Priscilla has a long history of violence. In fact, she beat one of her boyfriends with a tire iron.
We often think of women as victims of domestic violence. It's very rare that men report that they are being abused, and it's very rare that they receive the empathy when they do report it due to stigma, and that's unfortunate. And so as advocates, we need to continue to make sure that we make places safe for everyone who deserves support through intimate partner violence.
The detective investigating the stabbing death of Anthony Murray has just learned that his murder suspect, Priscilla Morgan, has a history of domestic violence.
Miss Morgan had some priors that were at least somewhat similar to this, in that they involved domestic violence, with her being the aggressor against other men.
The first incident the detective finds is from more than 10 years ago in 2002.
Priscilla had gotten into an argument with someone she'd been dating on and off.
Apparently, after the argument, he ditched Priscilla at the club and went home.
Which led Priscilla to concoct a plan for revenge.
She proceeded to call her daughter's father, Mario, and told him that her boyfriend had punched her at the club.
So Mario gathered up a couple of his friends.
And she called her boyfriend to meet at a certain nearby school here in Columbus.
But when he arrived, Mario and his friends jumped him.
These guys held the boyfriend down, and she proceeded in beating him with a tire iron.
At that time, Priscilla was arrested for aggravated assault, but those charges were later dismissed.
As happens in some cases, female on male domestic, it's not uncommon that the male doesn't make the big thing of it.
However, Priscilla's record shows a report for a second assault a year later.
In December 2003, she was arrested for assaulting Mario.
And one particular detail of the incident sticks out to the detective.
Police found out that she bit him on the shoulder,
leading them to a singular belief.
If you upset her, she's gonna make you pay. And that's what she did.
But even with all their evidence, will it be enough to convince a jury?
When Priscilla goes on trial for murder in 2015, the prosecutors paint her as the aggressor.
According to their open, Priscilla was furious that Anthony had struck her during that altercation.
But rather than call 911 and report the alleged assault, Priscilla called her brother.
You need to get over here before I do something to him.
Then she dismissed her 3 daughters and sent them back to the party.
What happened next, according to prosecutors, is Priscilla picked up a knife.
She was gonna make him pay. And in her anger, in her disgust, she stabbed him.
And for Priscilla, it wasn't enough just to hurt Anthony.
Priscilla struck Ant with such ferocity that all it took was one stab for him to die.
To bolster their argument, the prosecution lets her criminal past speak for itself.
There was what prosecutors call a pattern of conduct.
We used her prior incidents as evidence to persuade a jury that that is what happened.
When it's the defense's turn, they remain adamant Anthony was the aggressor.
They're sticking to their story that Priscilla only grabbed the knife to defend herself against Anthony.
She had a very good lawyer, and he did what he could to convince the jury that this was self-defense.
When the jury returns with a verdict, it seems Priscilla's self-defense claim worked. At least somewhat.
The jury ended up acquitting her of the murder charges as well as the possession of a knife charge. They convicted her of the aggravated assault.
I would say I was a little surprised that they found guilty on aggravated assault and not guilty on the felony murder, because there's no question as far as cause of death that this is what caused Mr. Murray's death.
Regardless, the lighter verdict also brings a lighter sentence.
The judge then sentences Priscilla to 20 years, 15 in prison and 5 on probation.
They didn't really have any physical evidence as far as her even being hit by him. But to me, it was really more so premeditated because you sent the kids away, you know?
I don't understand how she was not found guilty of malice murder. I think the jury made a huge mistake.
As for Priscilla's brother and cousin, they're never convicted in connection with her crime.
Charging decisions are based on what we think the evidence shows, and was there enough? In this case, no.
Even so, there's no denying Priscilla's actions had far-reaching consequences.
When it's all said and done, Anthony's kids will have to...
She was a refugee, making a name for herself in the U.S.
She was born in Cuba. She wanted to be an artist. She wanted to be somebody.
And she finally met a man that felt like home.
He was also an immigrant. That was the common bond the two of them had.
She begins to fall for this guy. The stars begin to twinkle.
But when torrential rains reveal a horrific crime, the entire community is put on high alert.
The body had been mutilated and burned in that stream.
It almost looked like an autopsy left undone.
This was obviously not a run-of-the-mill murder.
We had some kind of cycle on our hands.
When two suspects implicate one another, the cards of fate send investigators spiraling down a dark and twisted trail.
He made the police really creeped out.
He believes that he can read minds and that he can control people.
This wasn't a man that she was dealing with. This was a devil.
There was blood splatter all over the walls.
He was cool. He was collected. He was a killer.
Just 30 miles north of Midtown Manhattan lies the village of Spring Valley, a diverse suburb divided between Ramapo and Clarkstown, New York.
Spring Valley historically was a resort town and beautiful area, mountains, trees, rivers.
It's a big mixture of different communities that do get along together very well. In particular, within the Hispanic community.
In the summer of 1998, Spring Valley had been hit with a torrential rainfall as part of an unusual weather phenomenon crossing the country.
At that period of time, the U.S. was under the influence of El Nino. And what that meant for our area here in the Northeast was rain, rain, rain.
Our parks was flooded, our streets, people complaining about their yards, their houses being flooded.
But by Monday, June 13th, the rain has finally subsided.
A local resident went out to inspect the water levels in a creek in his backyard.
He was checking the drainage because, you know, all the rain that they've been having.
Whenever there's rain and stuff, he gets a little flooding, and because of El Nino, it was a lot more rain.
However, when the man reaches the edge of the creek, he notices something unsettling.
It looked like a body wrapped in some sort of plastic.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And horrified, he immediately ran to the phone, called 911, and said, "I think you need to get here now."
Investigators quickly respond to the man's home.
It's back here.
I was led to the backyard of the caller that called it in. The body appeared to be wrapped in some kind of plastic and set on fire, and it was already decomposing. I knew that this was going to be a very difficult case to even start to put together.
There was no trace evidence, nothing you might expect at a typical crime scene.
The police were able to at least ascertain that it appeared to be a young Hispanic woman, probably in her early 20s.
Investigators hope fingerprints will help ID their victim, but they're soon hit with a horrific realization.
There's no hands.
They're gone?
To my shock, the hands on this body were missing. They were actually hacked off.
This was something that really took them back.
I'm realizing that based on the hands being cut off and the body being set on fire, that this was done to try and prevent us from identifying who this person was.
The detectives didn't have a hand, let alone a print. So they had to call the medical examiner.
After the medical examiner removes the burned plastic, he discovers even more horrifying details.
Not only are her hands severed, she was disemboweled as well.
But regardless of the body's condition, the medical examiner is able to ascertain the cause of death.
Massive blunt force trauma to the head.
This lady was brutally murdered with some kind of foreign object, maybe a sledgehammer.
They believe those blows to the head probably caused instant death, which is good because the severing of the hands, the mutilating of the body were most likely done post-mortem, so she didn't have to suffer through that.
Unfortunately, a large part of her face is indistinguishable, so they are still unable to identify her.
We really had nothing to go on, but luckily I've worked with this awesome officer from Clarkstown who is also a sketch artist. So I immediately contacted him.
He was able to duplicate one side of the face to match the other side of the face so that you now had a face in its entirety.
This sketch was then put to all the newspapers and television stations in the New York tri-state area.
And before long, they get a call from a local man named Stanley Ellis.
Anderson.
Hi. I'm calling about the girl in the newspaper.
He immediately recognized the sketch, particularly the gap in the teeth.
It was his missing friend, 20-year-old Beatrice Alvarez.
He said that was my friend Beatrice. I hadn't seen her in over a month. I wondered what happened to her.
On the cusp of adulthood, Beatrice Alvarez had already experienced more than many people do in a lifetime.
She was a refugee from Havana, Cuba. She endured many trials along the way, but she was resilient.
Her and her family, they ended up in Queens.
But like many hoping to achieve the American dream, the obstacles they faced proved to be insurmountable.
They did fall on hard times, and unfortunately, it broke the family up. The brother and the sister, they moved away. The mother ended up, I believe, in a homeless shelter.
Although she did come from this background where her family struggled, Beatrice did not let that stop her.
She became a hairdresser to earn a living. She was talented in that way.
Anybody that she came in contact with instantly fell in love with her because she just had that charming personality.
She always had a smile. She was always upbeat. She was always determined.
But doing hair wasn't Beatrice's true passion.
She liked to do hair as a profession, but her heart and soul was really much into the fine arts, and she wanted to be an artist.
One of her prized possessions was her sketch pad, and she took it with her everywhere she went.
She wanted to be somebody. She wanted to live the artist life.
She was trying to aspire to reach the American dream.
Having spent much of her life alone, Beatrice also yearned for companionship. And during the spring of 1998, she thought she'd found just that in local shop owner Felipe Rivera.
Hey.
Hi.
How was work?
It was good. A little slow, but it gave me time to work on my sketches.
She is in love with him and is ready to start this life with him. However, she then meets his friend, Vinicio.
Hola, Felipe.
Vinicio.
Vinicio walks in, and that's all that she can see.
Hey, Vinicio, this is my girl, Beatrice.
Nice to meet you, Beatrice.
Nice to meet you.
You two want to grab some lunch today?
Oh, man, I can't. I have to stay behind and man the store.
Felipe encouraged her to go get lunch with Vinicio.
Hey, you two be good.
They decide to go out for lunch together, and that was it. She's totally into this guy.
It was one moment where they were actually alone together, just talking and getting to know each other, and sparks started to fly.
These are amazing.
Thank you. I want to be an artist full time, but city can be a lot, you know?
Trust me, I get it.
Vinicio was also an immigrant. He came from South America, and that was the common bond the two of them had. He's 32. And he seems to have this stuff together. He's got his own place. He's got a job, a good job, too.
Vinicio was working at a military manufacturer.
It's not easy to survive here, but hard work and determination will get you a long way.
You think so? Feels kind of hopeless sometimes.
I won't let you give up. You got real talent, B.
She opens up herself to a situation where she begins to fall for this guy. The stars begin to twinkle. It's always that, for lack of a better term, that apple in the garden, that forbidden fruit.
Listen, I've actually got some connections. I think I could help you.
Really?
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Ultimately, Beatrice decided that she would leave her boyfriend and go live with Vinicio Valverde.
But now, after receiving a call from her friend, Stanley Ellis, detectives believe Beatrice Alvarez is the woman found brutally murdered and dismembered in a local creek.
Yeah, that sketch looks exactly like her.
Her hands had been cut off, and she had been disemboweled, burned.
Very dangerous, maybe deranged person that will go to these kind of extremes. We had some kind of cycle on our hands.
20-year-old Beatrice Alvarez was an artist chasing her dreams when she fell in love with 32-year-old Vinicio Valverde.
They felt they had the same likes, and it was their life stories were about the same, how they immigrated from another country to come here for a better life.
Beatrice believes that she has found her soulmate, her match. This is the man that is going to help her really build that American dream.
But now Beatrice's promising future hangs in the balance.
Her friend believes she was the woman police found, burned and dismembered in her local creek.
It's one thing to kill a person. It's another thing to cut their stomach open and then cut off their hand. That speaks to a sociopath.
When was the last time you saw Beatrice?
It's been a few weeks.
He said they knew each other from working at the salon and used to talk and hang out quite often.
Then one day, Beatrice was gone.
It was really just quite sudden. One day she just doesn't show up and never showed up again.
I don't see her for weeks. And then her boyfriend shows up for a haircut appointment.
Hey, Stanley.
Hey, have you seen Beatrice?
He says, what's going on? Is she okay?
Stanley says he was surprised by what Vinicio said next.
She left me for another guy.
He just casually says, well, one night she got into a car with a musician and drove off.
A musician?
Yeah. I don't know his name, but she left me for him.
Did he say where they went?
Nope. He didn't give me any other details.
After speaking with Stanley, investigators are able to confirm his hunch about his missing friend.
Rockland County was very fortunate to have a brilliant medical examiner.
Once they had a name, they were able to use DNA evidence to confirm her identity. They were certain Beatrice was their deceased victim.
But when they attempt to deliver the tragic news to Beatrice's next of kin, detectives hit a wall.
I did everything I could to reach out to the mother, but unfortunately, due to her being homeless, I couldn't locate her.
As Beatrice's family had been dispersed really across the country, it was very difficult to track down the next of kin.
Thanks.
But eventually, the brother called, and I actually spoke to him on the phone, and he was informed that his sister was killed. Unfortunately, during my career, I've made too many death notifications, and no matter how many you do, it does not get easier. And this was probably one of the worst ones that I had to do, because not only did I have to make a notification that a loved one was dead, but they were brutally murdered.
Beatrice's brother has no idea who would want to do this to his sister.
The distance had made it hard to keep in touch. He didn't know anything about who Beatrice was living with, who her friends were, nothing.
Detectives are eager to speak with Beatrice's ex-boyfriend, Vinicio Valverde, about the mysterious musician she supposedly ran off with prior to her disappearance.
Now, we may have a suspect is that what led to her death?
But then, detectives get a promising break in the case.
Come in. Detective Jones, Yonkers PD.
Yonkers is a suburb of North Manhattan, about 40 minutes southeast of Spring Valley.
I heard about the case you were working on, and it sounded extremely familiar.
He said they had someone in their jurisdiction that committed almost the same similar type of sadistic homicide.
Check it out.
The Yonkers detective explains that in August of 1990, a woman named Rosie Vasquez was brutally murdered in their jurisdiction.
Yonkers police said that they had arrested and tried a gentleman named Bradford Wise for mutilating his girlfriend Rosie's body almost in a similar fashion to what happened to Beatrice.
Rosie was a small, petite Hispanic girl who was then post-mortem terribly mutilated. It fit all the same pattern of Beatrice's murder.
However, when it went to trial, the jury found Bradford not guilty. He was acquitted of all charges and walked out a free man.
We were sure it was him based on the circumstantial evidence, but we didn't have enough physical evidence to convince the jury.
After he was acquitted of the crime, he still calls the police and taunts them with details about where they can find different parts of Rosie's body.
It's been absolutely maddening.
The police can't do anything about it because double jeopardy, meaning he can't be rearrested and retried for a crime he was already arrested and tried and acquitted of.
But Yonkers police are convinced if Bradford got away with murder once, he could have tried to do it again.
If it quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. So Bradford became the #1 suspect.
It started to really sound like we had a serial killer on the loose.
Detectives in Spring Valley, New York, investigating the brutal murder of 20-year-old Beatrice Alvarez, have just received a visit from Yonkers police.
Yonkers detectives say they handled a case similar a few years earlier, and the alleged killer, Bradford Wise, was never incarcerated for the crime.
It started to really sound like we had a serial killer on the loose.
Thanks for passing this along, Detective. Absolutely.
Investigators know that if there really is a serial killer at large in their community, they need to act fast.
I've got my guys searching for him as we speak. We'll be in touch.
They start trying to find Bradford to talk to him.
But the next day, their fervor comes to a screeching halt.
Anderson. Oh, hey, Detective Jones. Any sign of Bradford?
Bradford had recently been arrested on arson charges in a neighboring community. He'd been in jail at Westchester County, awaiting trial since late May.
Since police believe Beatrice was killed in early June, it would have been impossible for Bradford to commit the crime.
I'm so sorry to get your hopes up. It's okay. We appreciate your help. Just let me know if there's anything else that I can do. Thanks, Jones.
That deconstructed the whole idea that they had their guy.
It wasn't Bradford.
Damn.
With their strongest lead now a dead end, detectives shift their focus to their victim's most recent ex-boyfriend, Vinicio Valverde.
Hi, are you Mr. Valverde?
Yes.
So the detectives asked Mr. Valverde if they could speak with him about Beatrice Alvarez.
At the mention of Beatrice's name, Vinicio immediately got emotional.
Yes, come in. I still can't believe she's gone.
Vinicio invites the police into his apartment.
And something inside immediately catches the attention of detectives.
What caught my eye right away was this makeshift shrine, or whatever we want to call it.
It had upside-down prayer cards. It had pictures of women, some with pins in them, and it also had what appeared to be a pentagram on the bottom.
And in that shrine was a photo of Beatrice Alvarez.
It really caught my eye, but Mr. Valverde, he didn't seem too nervous about it.
What's that?
Oh, it's supposed to give you good luck.
He said it was some spiritualism that he hoped would bring her back to him since she had left, and that the shrine was devoted to Beatrice's return.
Even though she was deceased, he was hoping she would return to him in spirit.
It's our understanding that Beatrice left you for a musician shortly before she was murdered. Is that correct?
Yes. It broke my heart.
He's not able to provide any other defining characteristics about the musician or where they may have gone.
I asked him, how did he meet Beatrice? And it was through a friend that he knew by the name of Felipe, who worked in the city.
Beatrice had been dating Felipe. They were living together.
When Beatrice and I met, it was like boom, fireworks.
He said he never intended to steal his friend's girl, but they had a connection and neither one of them could resist.
But apparently he treated her bad.
Vinicio says Beatrice opened up to him about her relationship with Felipe, and it raised cause for alarm.
He said Felipe was abusing Beatrice and kept her locked up in a room.
He was keeping her like a prisoner.
Spring Valley detectives are speaking with Vinicio Valverde about the murder of his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old aspiring artist Beatrice Alvarez. According to Vinicio, Beatrice had a tumultuous relationship with her other ex, Felipe Rivera.
He would hit her. He would lock her up.
How do you know this?
She told me.
Beatrice had told him that he was keeping her like a prisoner. He was trying to poison her. He was abusive, and she couldn't get away fast enough.
Vinicio says he knew he needed to step in to save Beatrice.
He was able to convince her that if she left Felipe and left with him, that he can give her a better life. She was so excited to start this new life that she actually goes back to the shop, breaks up with her boyfriend, and literally packs up what she has, all her life savings and stuff, and goes with Vinicio and ends up moving in with him in Spring Valley.
But apparently I couldn't make her happy.
Beatrice told him she was going to leave him and left with a musician who lived in Manhattan.
Just like that, Beatrice was gone. Vinicio said he hadn't seen her since.
But despite Beatrice leaving with the mysterious musician, Vinicio believes someone else is responsible for what happened to her.
You know, I think Felipe did this.
Vinicio started crying, very, very tearful, and had immediately pinned her murder on her former lover, Felipe.
Felipe Rivera did this.
He's heartbroken. He's upset. He was assuming that she went back to Felipe and he started his abuse again and possibly took it too far.
There's no telling what he's capable of.
Detectives fear Vinicio might be right.
Police now have to interview Felipe. If even half of what Vinicio was saying is true, maybe he is the real suspect.
We locate him in the city, and we have a conversation with him and ask him if he would come back with us to Spring Valley. And he was more than willing to.
I just can't believe that she's gone. Even though things did not work out between us, I'll always have love for that girl.
Basically, he tells us he was in love with Beatrice, that was the love of his life, and that his friend, who was supposed to just go out on a lunch date with her, Mr. Valverde, ends up taking his girlfriend.
Is it true that you were controlling of Beatrice when you were together? Abusive?
What? Never.
When they tell Felipe all the horrible things his friend Vinicio has said about him, he kind of loses it a little.
I mean, if anything, Vinicio was the abusive one. She told me so.
Felipe's like, wait a minute. She told me that Vinicio was the one who is the abusive one. And so now you got, he said.
She could not stand him. I mean, he was crazy. She wanted my help to get her out.
Basically, she's now asking Felipe for money and stuff, and she wants to go back.
I feel guilty for even introducing her to him in the first place. I mean, he's shown me his true colors before.
This is where it takes a really bizarre turn.
Felipe told us that he knew for a fact that Valverde practiced some kind of black magic, and that he believes that he can read minds and that he can control people.
It's a stunning claim, but is his story true?
As Felipe is telling us about this black magic, I'm really still not sold on it. And then Felipe is telling me how he was trying to give Vinicio a job in his shop.
This was a few months before Vinicio and Beatrice met.
Vinicio Valverde was trying to offer his services of being what you would, I guess, call a mind reader, a psychic, someone that can heal people.
Felipe thought Vinicio's services would be a great addition to his shop, but shortly after being hired, the situation took a chilling turn.
This looks good.
Something's not right.
What do you mean?
I guess he felt that the energy in the store needed to be shifted.
A sacrifice must be made.
And so he had a dove with him, and he wanted to sacrifice the dove in the store to purify it.
Wait, Vinicio, this is too much.
Fine. You just don't understand.
Mr. Valverde instead took out a syringe and put it into the dove, drew out some blood, and then put a drop of the blood from the dove in each of his eyes.
Vinicio thought he had power through black magic, power over women, power to control situations. And this is how he used these sacrificing techniques and other rituals.
Was Beatrice Alvarez just another one of Vinicio's sacrificial lambs?
It's beyond sociopathy. It's beyond psychopathology.
Homicide detectives in Spring Valley, New York, have just learned that Vinicio Valverde was exhibiting some chilling behavior before his ex-girlfriend, 20-year-old Beatrice Alvarez, was killed and dismembered.
Vinicio was known to practice black magic and did show some violent tendencies.
Beatrice's other ex, Felipe Rivera, says he witnessed it firsthand after hiring Vinicio to work in his shop.
I'm open to many different spiritual practices, but that was too much, even for me.
Felipe was like, I can't be having this in my shop.
The tapes of service Vinicio was providing were just way too extreme, so Felipe stopped having him work there.
I mean, we remained friends afterwards. I just thought he was a good guy at heart who had gotten too deep into black magic. But now I believe I was wrong.
And when detectives dig deeper into Vinicio Valverde's background, they discover even more disconcerting information.
Vinicio stole a book on demonology from the New York Library. He was trying to do these evil spells on his ex-wife.
Right there, that threw up a flag right away, because now that took my mind back to this memorial that's in Mr. Valverde's apartment.
In that shrine back in his apartment, there was a picture of a woman with pins stuck in it, and that was his ex-wife.
They really started looking into this stuff, realizing that, wait a minute, this is not a call to action for a loved one to come home. This shrine was to take control of someone's spirit.
But are Vinicio's spiritual practices really the signs of a deranged killer?
The detectives did their research and learned that whenever someone who practices black magic kills somebody, they keep a trophy of the person to keep their spirit under control in the afterlife.
They must take a body part and keep it close to them. And as long as they have that body part, the soul cannot come back to haunt them or hurt them.
So they felt like if Vinicio really did this, he may have some parts of Beatrice in his home, most likely her hands, since they know that they were missing from her body.
On July 14th, Spring Valley police execute a search warrant at Vinicio's apartment, and inside the bedroom, they make an alarming discovery.
To my shock, there was blood everywhere.
There was blood splatter all over the walls. There was blood on the floor.
As soon as I flipped the mattress over at the head part, you could see a big red stain that appeared to be blood.
Obviously, things are taking a different turn now after the find of this blood.
But that's not all they find.
I recall going into one of the dresser drawers, and I found female fingernails and human teeth.
And they find a hammer, and what they remember from the ME's report was that Beatrice's body was hit, blunt force trauma to the head.
There was a saw and a large knife, so you could see that these were probably the murder weapons.
Investigators also locate something near and dear to Beatrice, her sketchbook.
So I had already learned that Beatrice did not go anywhere without her sketchbook. That was her world.
She absolutely would not have left it behind. So why was it there?
But one crucial piece of evidence is still missing: Beatrice's severed hands.
I'm now convinced that the hands are somewhere in there, but it's a small room, and I turned that room upside down. I couldn't find it. So my next thing was I reached out to an agency that had cadaver dogs. The dog kept hitting on this small closet, and I went in the closet. I took all the clothes out of the closet, emptied the closet out.
And they're looking and they're looking. Dogs know, and the handler knows this dog is sensing something, but they just don't see anything.
But then the dog starts to get on his hind leg and starts pointing up. And so the police are looking up.
The handler looked up inside the closet, and he saw what appeared to be a false ceiling.
I see the handler reach up, and he pulls down this fake and...
Down dropped a hand, a mummified hand.
Spring Valley investigators have just made a series of gruesome discoveries inside the bedroom of 32-year-old Vinicio Valverde.
Police believe that Vinicio killed his ex-girlfriend, Beatrice Alvarez. They found blood spatter and other human remains inside of his apartment.
But the most shocking evidence of all is located in the bedroom closet.
I see the handler reach up, and he pulls down this fake and...
Down dropped a hand, a mummified hand.
I hear him yell, he goes, "I found what you're looking for." The only problem was it was mummified.
Since the hand is mummified, obtaining the forensic evidence to officially link it to Beatrice Alvarez will be especially challenging.
They needed to rush it to the medical examiner and see what he could do.
No matter how hard or where I checked, I could not find the other hand.
Fortunately, the medical examiner has a plan to rejuvenate the fingerprints from the hand found in Vinicio's closet.
He had perfected a method to rehydrate mummified hands. And so, given his technique that he had developed, we were able to rehydrate the hand.
They get a fingerprint impression and they send off the prints for testing.
And finally, we got that break where it came back that that hand did belong to Beatrice Alvarez.
For investigators, this proves without a doubt Vinicio is their man. Now all they need is a confession.
They take him into custody and bring him to the police headquarters.
We found some very interesting things at your place, Vinicio.
Once they tell him the hand was in your apartment, it matches Beatrice. Does he break down at this point? Absolutely not. He is not admitting to anything.
I didn't kill her.
He was calm, he was cool, he was collected, he was a killer.
You guys must have planted it.
So as a last-ditch effort, he now tries to blame the police for planting the hand in his closet, which is absurd.
Someone is framing me. I swear.
At this point, detectives are done listening to Vinicio's excuses.
He never really owned up to it, but based on the overwhelming evidence, we were convinced already that we had enough.
Benicio Valverde is charged with second-degree murder for the killing of Beatrice Alvarez.
He was not charged with murder in the first degree because you need more mitigating factors.
First-degree murder is very difficult to prove because you have to have the perfect set of circumstances to prove first-degree murder. In this instance, the cops did not have witnesses. The body wasn't found until way after the fact.
And Benicio definitely isn't going down easy.
While he was pending trial, there was a moment where he tried to kill himself with a bedsheet.
He tries to end his life so he doesn't have to face his punishment.
Thank God the corrections officers were on duty and they caught it right away and they prevented him from taking his own life.
After his failed suicide attempt, Benicio is strictly monitored until his trial begins in July 1999.
This is a person who was aloof, who really didn't have too many social connections, but heavily relied on connecting with the spiritual world.
And as the prosecution presents their case, they explain how Benicio's connection to the spiritual world intersected with a dangerous obsession that led to murder.
It was my view of the evidence that we had that this was what you would kind of call a crime of passion.
The theory of this is that Mr. Valverde met this gorgeous young lady, instantly fell in love with her. He was very jealous of her, very controlling of her.
And his involvement with black magic was starting to make her feel really uncomfortable.
Prosecutors say that eventually, Beatrice had enough.
Where do you think you're going?
I can't stay here anymore, Benicio.
You lost your mind?
Let go of me. You're not who I thought you were.
Beatrice was planning to exit the relationship.
And that was the ultimate slap in the face for a person like this. It was an insult to his masculinity, to his alleged powers of black magic, and he couldn't let that go.
It was my argument to the jury that if he couldn't have her, then nobody would.
So he carried out his most sadistic ritual yet.
First, her skull was bashed.
Show you who I really am.
And then, after she was killed, he proceeded to humiliate and dismember the corpse.
He found a way to remove her from this physical world in efforts to connect with her in the spiritual world so that she would never leave him.
After that, Benicio put her body in plastic bags and took it to a secluded area to burn.
But when the body didn't burn completely like he had hoped, he decided to take what was left and throw it in a local creek.
For a while, Benicio thought he got away with murder, but then the storm hit.
He didn't expect that weeks later it would flood so bad to push her body downstream, where she was eventually discovered.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
After a week-long trial, it takes jurors only 5 hours to return with a verdict.
It didn't take long for the jury to come back with a verdict of guilty. And Benicio was convicted of second-degree homicide.
Mr. Valverde was sentenced to the maximum under the law of 25 years to life. He is currently serving that sentence. At the trial, there were some family members that did attend on behalf of Beatrice, so it was really satisfying that we were able to bring the family members of Beatrice Alvarez some sense of justice, given the viciousness of this crime.
He was denied parole in May of 2023.
With her killer now behind bars, Beatrice's memory lives on in those who knew and loved her.
We lost a major, I want to say an angel, a true American dream. You're talking about somebody that came from Cuba, came here with nothing but a dream. Just imagine what this young lady could have been today.
She had the world, she had time, she had everything ahead of her, and it was cut short because of the selfishness of one person.
There is truly no happy ending to this because a life was lost, but it does give you a little good feeling knowing that we were able to bring a closure